Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I am Jason Whitlock, your host. And you know what? It's good to be back here in the studio. A major construction project going on in my home studio and neighborhood. And so this week, we will be here back in the main studio. I wanted to, come back here. One, I get to look at Sophie over my shoulder and Tiger Woods and Magic Johnson. But we will have a great show for you today. Sorry, we're 90 minutes behind schedule today. Had to because this major construction deal at my home studio was just way too distracting. And so we came back to Berry Hill to do the show, and we have a great show planned for you today. Lane Kiffin and Shedeur Sanders. I'm going to combine those two topics and talk about those two topics. Steve Kim will join me in the second half of the show. There was very interesting things that happened in the NFL. Obviously, the Lane Kiffin Ole Miss deal is very fascinating, and Shedeur Sanders got his second start, and it didn't go as well for the Browns as his first start, and obviously we'll get into that. First thing I need you guys to do, those of you listening over Apple, is make sure you hit that 5-star rating. We need it to help fight the algorithm. The other thing I need you to do is thank our sponsor. It's the Christmas season, and as we celebrate the gift of life and the man who sacrificed his life for all of us, let's do something to honor him, and that's support Preborn. Preborn is the #1 organization in America that is fighting the abortion movement. And Preborn does this by providing expectant mothers an ultrasound that introduces that baby to the mother, a heartbeat and an image of the baby to the mother while the baby's in the womb. And if she is considering abortion, now she's twice as likely to choose life once she sees that image of the baby. Preborn's able to provide these ultrasounds because we support Preborn. Preborn has saved nearly 300,000 babies' lives. We're going to save a bunch more during this holiday season, during Christmas, and throughout all of 2026. And we're going to do that by continuing our support, continuing to donate to Preborn. Each ultrasound costs $28. 5 ultrasounds cost $140. Whatever your best gift is, give it right now. There's 2 ways to give. Pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or give the way that I prefer to give, preborn.com/fearless. Preborn.com/fearless. Nothing will bring you more holiday joy than knowing that you helped save a baby's life. Give today. Pound 250, keyword baby. Sorry, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I did. Let's get into today's show. And because we're a little bit behind schedule and we're coming back to the studio, there will be no NFL truths today, but we will have, I'll unpack the biggest highlights from the weekend. And so we got to start with Lane Kiffin, who I'm calling Lame Kiffin. And Lane Kiffin is a lot like Shedeur Sanders, almost the identical version of Shedeur Sanders in the coaching profession. And let me be crystal clear here as I unpack this criticism. I like Lane Kiffin. I really do. And halfway rooting for him. But the way he just exited Ole Miss, embarrassing. To throw a tantrum and demand that you coach the final month of the season and the team through the playoffs is ridiculous. If Lane Kiffin wants to chase more money and wants to chase what he considers a better program, make the sacrifice of like, hey, you know what I'm surrendering? I'm surrendering a chance to lead Ole Miss to the national championship. I'm out. To stick around and try to demand and strong arm Ole Miss and their athletic director, I believe his name is Keith Carter, try to strong arm them into, hey, I get to stay here and coach, recruit my coaching staff, recruit these players while working for LSU. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the reason I compare him to Shedeur Sanders is because just like Shedeur, his dad not as famous as Deion Sanders or as Shedeur's dad, Deion Sanders, but his dad, Monte Kiffin, provided him a pretty comfortable life. Monte Kiffin, one of the great assistant coaches in the National Football League, made his name with the Tampa 2, a great defensive coordinator. And that made Lane Kiffin put him on easy street, put him on a silver spoon in his coaching career, no different than how Shedeur Sanders has been ushered into college football, high school football, professional football by his dad. There is a privilege, that wealth privilege, that, hey, my dad was a major player in the National Football League. That privilege, very similar to Shedeur Sanders, very debilitating in terms of when people think, when they're used to getting everything that they want, they think they deserve everything that they want. And I see that in Shedeur Sanders, and we saw it in Lane Kiffin this weekend with the way he handled his exit from Ole Miss. And we saw the exact same thing as it relates to Shedeur Sanders. There's a group of groupies out here for Shedeur Sanders. Many people call them prime sexuals or Shedeur sexuals, and they will defend any and everything Shedeur does. They don't care that he was born on third base with gold chains around his neck. Shedeur Sanders represents something greater, that he's some sort of messiah, that if Shedeur Sanders makes it as an NFL quarterback, it's going to help and enhance black people all across America. And so people defend any and everything about Shedeur Sanders. Well, Lane Kiffin doesn't represent the same thing, but access to Lane Kiffin by people in the media prevents them from saying the truth about how selfish and how narcissistic and how inappropriate Lane Kiffin's exit was from Ole Miss. Everybody that I'm about to talk about here, from Nick Saban to Kirk Herbstreit to Lane Kiffin, I like these guys. But quit acting like Shedeur sexuals or prime sexuals, or that you have to defend Lane Kiffin to keep your access to him. And there are a lot of people that I saw on Clay Travis's Twitter feed. Lane Kiffin is very friendly with the media. And so everybody throws objectivity and common sense out the window and starts caping up for Lane Kiffin, no different than the way people cape up for Shedeur Sanders. This whole little myth that people in the media are leftists or that they're concerned about the little guy. Why are they doing so much caping up for the non-little guy, for the big guy, for the people born on third base? This no different than how people caped up for Colin Kaepernick. Here's a guy that hit the absolute lottery. His parents abandoned him. His mom and dad abandoned him, give him up for adoption. This man gets adopted by some relatively well-off family in California. They pour everything into him. He's born, he's 6'4", 6'5", has all this athletic talent. He's born on third base. And everybody acted like, oh, we must cape up and defend Colin Kaepernick. He's our messiah. No, he's not. He's someone that hit the genetics lottery and then hit the second chance lottery when his parents gave him up for adoption. We shouldn't have been feeling sorry for him. But again, he represented something in certain people's minds, leftists, media people, their ability to virtue signal. And so they defended Colin Kaepernick. I throw Lane Kiffin in a different way into that same boat. Let's listen to first Nick Saban, as instead of blaming Lane Kiffin, everybody goes to the default deal of, hey, let's blame the system. Play SOT 1.
Well, everybody should be thinking about the players. Everybody should be thinking about the student athletes. What's best for the student athletes? Players should be able to play for his coach for the entire season. Players shouldn't be penalized if a coach leaves, because the committee has the opportunity, if a player or coach doesn't participate, they can sink you in the rankings. So Ole Miss could go down in the rankings, maybe lose a home game. So their players are getting penalized. But we need to take a better approach to the business aspect of what we do in college athletics. In the NFL, you cannot leave your team until you're finished playing. You can't talk to another coach in the regular season. There's a defined time when you can talk to them if they're in the playoffs. That's the way it should be. And we should match the academic calendar with the football calendar, and we shouldn't have an early signing date that conflicts with people wanting to hire an early coach, a portal situation where you got to hire an early coach, fire your coach early. None of this is fair to the players. So if we did all that in May and then had some kind of OTA days or something in the summertime instead of spring practice, we wouldn't have all these issues and players could actually finish the year. So this is not a Lane Kiffin conundrum. This is a college football conundrum that we need some leadership to step up and change the rules on how this gets done in terms of coaching searches and opportunities for people to leave.
I like Nick Saban, but he's dead wrong here. This is a Lane Kiffin problem. The system is corrupt. It's flawed. They've made a hot mess of college athletics. The pursuit of money, and greed have ruined college athletics and created all of this chaos. He's 1,000% right. But everybody, including Lane Kiffin, should start with the man in the mirror. Lane Kiffin, I would estimate, been the head coach for the Raiders at age 32, been the head coach at Florida Atlantic, a couple of major, obviously at Ole Miss. Was he the head coach at USC for a brief moment? Lane Kiffin has probably made between $50 and $75 million coaching by this point. And we're throwing a pity party for him. We're acting like Lane Kiffin he's not the first person that should do what's in the best interest of the kids. He has to set the example. I realize he's operating in a corrupt system. But that does not mean, well, he's got to be just as corrupt as the system. That seems to be the standard that's been set. And if he wants to leave for LSU, a direct competitor for Ole Miss, playing in the same conference, and we're arguing on television that this man should be allowed to coach at Ole Miss when he's working for LSU? If Lane Kiffin was interested in doing what's best for the kids, he would have stuck it out, missed the boat on the LSU deal, knowing, hey, man, I've made $50, $70 million. I'm Lane Kiffin. I can get my dream job once again next year. And maybe it's not LSU, but there are universities, and I'm sure Ole Miss was willing to pay him whatever LSU was willing to pay him or something close. But we just think the more money and the easier it is for the head coach or the individual, that's what men should do. That is not what men should do. Men should operate from a point of view of integrity and sacrifice. I like Lane Kiffin, but I'm going to keep it real with Lane Kiffin. He claims a Christian faith. What he just did here, his exit, it's unbiblical. And let me play Kirk Herbstreit, another person I like, but I got to keep it real. Sot 2.
The year Ole Miss is having. Forgetting Atlanta and the SEC championship, this team is a team you don't want to play in a CFP right now. So I think if you're in charge at Ole Miss and if Lane decides to go elsewhere, I think you need to set your emotions to the side. You need to look at 2025 and this team with their coach and giving them a chance to finish this run, whoever that might be. That's the tricky part here. I think there's no doubt if you talk to the players, some of them have come out publicly and said, we want our coach to coach us to the end. So I think Ole Miss administration is put in a very tough spot because if he were going to stay at Ole Miss, Eli Drinkwitz has already re-upped. Clark Lee has re-upped. Don't you think we would have already seen he's re-upping and staying at Ole Miss? So there's chances are he's going to Baton Rouge. I think Ole Miss has to accept that and look at this as a magical year. You've never done what you're doing right now. Let Lane Kiffin, if he leaves, and these players finish the run this year.
There's no business in America that operates under that premise. None. No successful ones. That you can take a job with your direct competitor inside your conference. And yeah, you can work here for the next month while you're going to be working for LSU in the future. Nobody does that. No one should do that. Yes, the system is bad. The transfer portals, the coaching cycles, they need to address, when a coach can and can't leave. They need some sort of non-compete clauses, no question. College football, college athletics needs to be cleaned up. But it will never be cleaned up if the people, the powerful people from within, and the powerful people in the media space don't stand firm on some issues related to ethics and integrity. And so if Lane Kiffin isn't willing to stand for something, and the mainstream media and the most powerful media in college athletics aren't willing to stand for something, don't be surprised that the NCAA and the school presidents and the college football system never stands for anything. When you think about the money, and I'm telling you, I like Nick Saban and Kirk Herbstreit. You know how much money these guys have made? And they're selling this garbage that Lane Kiffin has done as somehow ethical, and Ole Miss needs to fix this. Nick Saban and Kirk Herbstreit combined have probably made $500 million, if not more. And they don't have, again, this is, what do we say? People say they got FU money. You heard that saying, like, oh, I made so much money, I get to say and do whatever I want. No, they don't have FU money. They have F me money. They have puppet strings on them that dictate, like, oh, in order to maintain access to Lane Kiffin, and because we're represented by the same people, I got to go out here and I have to compromise on truth. You can like Lane Kiffin and call out what he's doing as wrong and entitled. People sit back and look at people defending Shedeur Sanders and say, I just can't believe these people would defend Shedeur Sanders. His behavior is inappropriate. Well, those same people now are looking at Lane Kiffin and they will say nothing. They'll point to all the system, how corrupt it is, but no one wants to say, no one involved in college athletics who really matters wants to say, hey, what Lane Kiffin is doing is wrong here. I want to play you, Bill, we got to go outside of college football for someone like Bill Cowher to call out Lane Kiffin. Play SOT 3.
Well, before we get to the process, let's just talk about Lane Kiffin's decision and what he asked in his statement, that he was denied the opportunity to coach the Ole Miss team through the course of the playoffs. And he was denied by the AD. And I would say, why would you even ask that question? Why would an AD let a coach who made a decision that he wanted to go to LSU and not stay at Ole Miss coach my players and use my coaches and tell them for the next month why they should be joining him at LSU? Totally understand. I would just say thank you, Lane, and goodbye. And that being said, if indeed he decides to take other coaches with him, I would just say any player that goes to play for Lane Kiffin, just understand one thing. It's not about the program. It's about Lane Kiffin. Because he don't care about the players that he just went through a season with, a special season, players he's had for 4 years, with an opportunity to go to the playoffs. He's decided to take them and not only leave them, which I get, okay, you want to do that, but now you're going to take offensive coaches with you and destroy the program.
And deplete the program.
Deplete the program and the dreams of these young men who you said that you want to be there and you want to do it with. But if I can't do it, I'm not going to let you do it yourself. The NCAA has got a problem. There's no guardrails. This landscape it's involved right now, not just with players. I'm talking even of the coaches, but even with players. You're talking about the portal, the NIL. we have now got this thing, this landscape is totally out of control. It's a wild, wild west out there, and something needs to be done. And hopefully a situation like this, where those players at Ole Miss, they're the losers in this thing, because this guy just left them, abandoned them.
And disrupted everything.
Everything.
Hey, let me just add to that, too, because you know what?
And let me say one last thing. I understand that he went, and I don't have any problem with that. But you know what? If you go, then go. And, wish them nothing but the best. Don't disrupt that program. Don't take any of those coaches. Let them stay there and let them finish the job that you left.
It's a no-brainer. But Bill Cowher isn't dependent upon access to Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin's a college coach. Bill Cowher's a former NFL coach. He works for CBS's NFL coverage. He's free to say whatever he wants about Lane Kiffin. This isn't hard. But the hypocrisy and just how Lane Kiffin is Shedeur Sanders, and the Lane Kiffin supporters are no different than the Shedeur Sanders supporters. They throw logic and objectivity out the window to defend their guy. I want to play you one more thing from Lane Kiffin. He confronts a reporter, and there's this whole confrontation. It feeds over into the press conference about did some reporter call Lane Kiffin a hoe? Play SOT 4.
Oh. So you want to walk in here and call me a hoe? We'll see how it goes.
So he walks up on the young dude, said, "Come on in the press conference and call me a hoe here." The guy explained himself that he was given the hoe and housewife, analogy. It's not a great defense. The reporter said this on a podcast away from Lane Kiffin. He's giving some analogy that is pretty commonplace, particularly if you're some hip-hop head or just into youth culture. It's not that big of a deal. Lane Kiffin, being a bully here, he's sitting on all the money. He's sitting on all the attention. He's sitting on all the power. He's punching down. He's instead of dealing with, hey man, I'm about to exit on a group of kids as we fight for a national championship. We're having this horrible season. And he deflects. Hey, let's make it about this young reporter who said something on a podcast that I should be big enough to ignore. I'm Lane Kiffin. LSU's about to give me a $100 million contract to come coach their team. Let's make the media the bad people rather than having the integrity to say, hey, I'm about to do something that's kind of shady or not in the best interest of these young people. I have to swallow that and move on. Let's throw dirt on this young reporter. I'm not fully defending. I get it. Someone makes these kind of analogies on a podcast. You're not pleased with it. You want to say something to them. But this is pure deflection that Lane needs to be called out on. And I know you get tired of me saying this. I like Lane Kiffin. But Lane Kiffin's no different than me. There are many people that like me that I will give them the right to, hey, man, Whitlock, you've done something wrong here. And without sacrificing my relationship or friendship with them, people can have the opinion that I did something wrong and I need to be good with that. But when you're spoiled, entitled, you have arrested development, like Lane Kiffin, like Shedeur Sanders, you struggle to get into the mirror and deal with the fact that, like, hey, I've done something wrong. There's a price for that. People are going to criticize me. People are going to make analogies that I don't like. Let me just keep it moving. I'm about to get paid $100 million. I'm going to my dream coaching job. Let me let this just roll off my back. Can't do it. Can't do it. All right, that's all I want to say about Lane Kiffin. I'm going to transition into some comments about Shedeur Sanders from yesterday. Before I do that, guys, I want to remind you about our great friends at Flying Ace. Some bourbons chase trends. Flying Ace chases legacy. This is straight bourbon the way it was meant to be, bold, balanced, and unapologetically American. No gimmicks, no fluff, just real whiskey made for those who still believe in hard work and high standards. That sounds like your kind of pour. It's time to level up. Buy online at flyingacespirits.com. Use the promo code BLAZE for free shipping. Flyingacespirits.com, promo code BLAZE for free shipping. I got to get a few things off my chest as it relates to Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur, I thought on the field, I thought he made progress. The Browns only scored 8 points. 49ers, I believe, beat them 25-8. Browns were in the game. I think the score was 10-8. And Kevin Stefanski on 4th and 1, Stefanski, the head coach of the Browns, on 4th and 1 from their own 33, goes for it. Score is 10-8. He goes for it on 4th and 1, and he uses a gimmick play where I think their young tight end is under center, and they're trying to do the tush push or something. Tight end fumbles the ball. I think his name is Fannin, number 44. Fumbles the ball. That pretty much changed the game. 49ers recover, go on to score, changed the entire game. Up until then, I thought Stefanski and the Browns were doing a great job of developing, protecting, grooming, supporting Shedeur Sanders. They were leaning into their running game, and it was very successful. They were just running the ball down San Francisco's throat. Their defense and Myles Garrett were doing what their defense and Myles Garrett do. Brock Purdy, the 49ers couldn't get anything going. Everything the 49ers did came off a short field. Turnovers, stupid decision-making by Kevin Stefanski or whatever. I liked what I saw from Shedeur on the field. Off the field, Shedeur Sanders remains an absolute nightmare. And this is why no NFL team really wanted Shedeur. This is why what's happened to Kevin Stefanski is completely unfair. He didn't and doesn't and shouldn't want Shedeur Sanders on his team. Shedeur Sanders is a hot mess. He is everything that people said about Tim Tebow and the distraction that comes along with Tim Tebow. Shedeur is 10 times worse. And Kevin Stefanski has justifiably had it up to here. I want to play you. Browns are right in the football game coming out of halftime. This is a close game. Their running game and defense have made this a super competitive game with the 49ers team that's headed to the playoffs. And here's what a CBS reporter, female reporter, asked Kevin Stefanski coming out of halftime. Play SOT 6.
Do his job.
Kevin Stefanski is getting criticized for that answer. How come you weren't more enthusiastic? It's clear as day you don't like Shedeur Sanders. And you know what? He has every right not to like Shedeur Sanders. Coaches, athletes, everybody involved in athletics has people they do and don't like. But when you have a quarterback and you're in the NFL and someone that objectively watches that game is sitting there and saying, man, this defense is playing lights out. They've got the 49ers bottled up. And, man, this running game and offensive line for Cleveland is actually dominating this football game. And you come out of halftime knowing the strategy that you're employing to keep your team in the game, knowing, like, man, my defense is playing lights out, my offensive line's playing lights out, these running backs are playing lights out, and the only question you get coming out of halftime is, hey, how's Shedeur playing? And he's sitting there like, a 5th-round pick? I got to sit here and talk about a 5th-round pick that anybody that's watching the game is clear as day, like, hey, man, we've come up with a strategy and a game plan to totally protect this 5th-round pick. And I get that you get clicks and traction out of talking about Shedeur. But I'm a football coach trying to win a football game and trying to develop everybody on my roster, and you guys keep hounding me about a 5th-round pick. This is nuts. This is unfair, what's happening to Kevin Stefanski. And I know he's made a bunch of money, and I know, he's a big boy and he can handle it. But just people running around trolling you. Shedeur. I used to do this to my brother when I was a little kid. My brother could tell you. I would follow him around. My brother was 3 years older than me. We were little kids. I would follow him around and just repeat everything he said. And I could do this for 30 minutes at a time. Just run around. My brother would say, "Hey, Mama, what are we having for dinner?" And I would go, "Hey, Mama, what are we having for dinner?" My brother could say, "Hey, I got to do homework today." And I'd say, "Hey, I got to do homework today." For 30, and it would drive my brother crazy. I was a little kid, and this is the things that little kids do. And now the media acting like little kids, just following Kevin Stefanski around. Shedeur. He's a 5th-round pick that throwing screen passes and being protected by a running game and a defense. And you can. Myles Garrett is in the middle of arguably the greatest defensive performance we've ever seen in the National Football League over the course of a season. No one's asking about Myles Garrett. No one's talking about it. Everything is Shedeur. A 5th-round pick who doesn't have the strongest arm and has, in my opinion, the worst leadership skills I've ever seen in professional sports. The things that they're avoiding about Shedeur, his inability to read a defense, his inability to process what's going on the field as quickly as quarterbacks need to. This is obvious. He held the ball in college because he can't process quickly. Shedeur comes across, and I'm sorry for saying this, but I'm not sorry for saying it because he comes across as if he might be on the spectrum. I mean, he seriously, anybody listening to this young man talk, listening to him answer questions that he clearly doesn't comprehend. Some reporter tried to throw him a softball of, "Hey, what do you think of Stefanski and how aggressive he was? Do you like that as a quarterback and as a member of the team?" And the reporter's trying to get Shedeur to say, "Yes, I like that Stefanski believes in me and us and this offense and that we can be super aggressive. I like that." That's all the reporter was trying to get Shedeur to say. Shedeur heard it as the reporter trying to bait him into attacking Stefanski. Nobody in their right mind, nobody that's not on the spectrum would have heard this question the way it was delivered, but not Shedeur. Let's play SOT 5.
I mean, first, that's a rude question to ask. If I think, it was a great call by my coach,
Do you like the aggression? Not do you like the call? Do you like
I like being out there playing. so whatever that comes with, it comes with, we're not going to be here and ever point finger at no coach or do anything like that. That's extremely disrespectful, and that's not even in my place. So I'm thankful for being out there, honestly, and I'm thankful that he trusts us as an offense to be able to go out there and be able to execute. Did we execute? No, we didn't. But, I'm just thankful that we have that trust.
I'm never going to point fingers. The man's not asking you to point fingers. He's so defensive, so unsure of himself. We could sit here and play clip after clip after clip of like, "Hey man, this guy's got Arrested Development. He's not all there. He does not comprehend the way most 23, 22-year-old college graduates do, particularly wealthy college graduates. Remember, money is supposed to fix all this. Money. Oh, if they just had access to money, all the the education rates and all that, everything would go through the roof. No. If you're not instilled with the right values, if your father thinks that, hey, my swagger and my arrogance and my gold chains and my braggadocio, if that's what he's preaching and demonstrating in the home, that, hey, great athletic ability, great athletic success, and being having swagger and having too much confidence, that's the key to success. That's how you end up with a kid that grew up in a 30,000 square foot mansion with all the advantages that come along with that, who can't process. And everybody is blaming Kevin Stefanski. That oh, he's got it in for Shedeur. He doesn't know how to communicate with Shedeur because Shedeur doesn't know how to communicate properly. His dad can understand him, Deion. That's because his dad has been with him basically 24/7 for life. But everybody else that has 53 other players or 52 other players to communicate with, Shedeur comes across like he's from outer space. And Kevin Stefanski's supposed to build everything around a 5th-round pick. I want to play you these. Do we got the clip of the reporters? Yeah. No. Don't we have the clip of the Cleveland radio show? Yeah, here we go. SOT 10. These young guys from a Cleveland radio show, or one of them, has it completely figured out. Play SOT 10.
I'm not seeing anything where if they fired Stefanski at the end of the year, a new coach came in, where that new coach is going to be like, we're starting Shedeur.
No, I think that's probably the worst thing for Shedeur and the Browns. Is I think that if they let, and this is something that I don't understand that a lot of people, we got to get Shedeur away from Kevin. We got to get Shedeur away from Kevin. You could get Shedeur away from Kevin during the season if you wanted to. All right, fine. Go right on ahead and do that if you really wanted to do that.
Shedeur's fan base is very loyal to him, right? I appreciate their passion, but
Tone.
I'm telling you, you are not helping his future because Kevin Stefanski has never been called the things in his life that he has once Shedeur came in. And that is going to follow wherever Shedeur ends up next. What GM, what coach is going to want to invite your fan base, Shedeur? Not Shedeur's fault, but the fan base. What coach, what system, what GM, what ownership is going to want to bring on the personal shots? Now even Jerry Jeudy is not allowed to get an argument with his quarterback without people calling him really bad things, really bad things.
Well, I'm not saying anything about Jerry Jeudy that's better than what I just said.
About? Because I saw that yesterday, people putting up clips from Roots, like they're calling Jerry Jeudy that. Like, you think a lot of teams want to invite you guys to the party? No thanks, not for a 5th-round pick that has the worst EPA in all of football per play.
First off,
nobody's going to want to invite that.
No idea about any of that.
I'll show you.
Well, I don't even want to see it, to be honest with you, okay? No. So I don't know anything about that with Jerry Jeudy.
Do you think any of these teams want Shannon Sharp and all of the former players, Emmanuel Acho, taking personal shots at their moral compass? Do you think they're going to want that over a 5th-round pick?
The situation.
No thanks.
The chubby guy on the right is just scared to death. I don't even want to watch that. I don't want to know nothing about that. I don't want to comment on that. The other guy's keeping it 100% real, man. CPA, completion, what is that? Completions per attempts, or he's got one of the shortest yards per completion in the National Football League. I think that's what the guy is referencing. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. The squeeze doesn't produce much juice. Shedeur Sanders is not performing well. According to Pro Football Focus, and I know they're controversial, he's rated as, through 2 starts, the worst quarterback in the National Football League. I think on the field, he actually made some progress. I really do. And I know they kept training wheels on him. But their overall point is like, hey, man, all of this trouble over a 5th-round pick? All of these people that are willing to slander your name over a 5th-round pick? That no one's safe, not even Jerry Jeudy. Do we have the Jerry Jeudy was yelling at Shedeur Sanders on the sidelines. He's not the first wide receiver to yell at a quarterback and to clap his hands, and he's not the first. But because it's Shedeur, it's a big deal. And now everybody, Jerry Jeudy is getting smeared and saying, how dare you speak to our Messiah this way? How dare you not show Shedeur the proper amount of respect? How about Shedeur carry himself in a way that commands respect? He doesn't strike a lot of people the way he strikes Jerry Jeudy. And then wide receivers don't occasionally snap on their quarterback when they think they're late with the ball, or when they don't respect their work ethic or their presentation. I want to make one final point, and we're going to get to Steve Kim. The other thing I liked about what these guys were saying is I want to read to you all a list of these special black athletes and coaches that get this special level of defense from certain members of the media. And I want you to tell me, when I rattle off this list, this special level of protection and defense and the smearing of anybody that criticized them, how does it help them? How has it worked out? From Deion Sanders, who just finished up a 3-9 season, to Colin Kaepernick, who ended his NFL career 10 years ago because he wanted to kneel for the national anthem. How'd that work out? Eric Bieniemy, who the media swore up and down was the greatest coaching prospect since Vince Lombardi. How'd that work out? Raheem Morris right now. Tyrone Willingham. Mike Tomlin, who's had some success and never had a losing season. But has he really reached his potential? I'm going to throw a name out there, a guy that I think's had a marvelous NFL career. But has he really delivered fully on what his groupies say? Lamar Jackson. Great 8-year run, 2 MVPs, no Super Bowls, no real playoff success. Hugh Jackson, guy I absolutely love. Michael Vick. You bubble wrap these athletes, these black athletes, in criticism protection. It doesn't work. You know what works? Getting humbled in sports. Go look at what happened to Bryce Young, the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. He got benched last year for 5 games. Number 1 overall pick. Sophomore season. 2 games into his sophomore season, he got benched for Andy Dalton. He got humbled. How you like him now? He just beat the best team in football, the Los Angeles Rams. He has the Carolina Panthers in the thick of the playoff race. He looks like a guy that has a chance to live up to his potential. And it's because he got criticized and got humbled. Why do we deny this to so many black athletes and coaches? Criticism and humility is what works. This whole swagger and overconfidence and just self-confidence, it's nowhere in the Bible. It doesn't work. We're going to take a break here and bring on the Korean Cosell, let him respond to any and all of this. We'll do that next.
Wait, want a statue honoring your heroic life sacrifice? No problem. How about a 21-night riot salute organized by Antifa and Black Lives Matter? Anti-Hero has you covered, and it can all be yours. Plus, 66.6% of the money we negotiate from the city, you can now rest in power knowing that your death financially benefited your biological mother and estranged father, boosted CNN and MSNBC TV ratings, justified nationwide looting, and most importantly, secured votes for the Democratic Party. Plus, you can rest easy knowing you have helped finish paying Al Sharpton's back taxes and the mortgage on my summer home at Martha's Vineyard. To get your complete legacy makeover, call now at 1-800-ANTI-HERO. That's 1-800-ANTI-HERO. Call now.
As the NFL turns, starring quarterbacks Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, with special appearances from Commissioner Roger Goodell and coaches Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin, and the Harbaughs. Brought to you by the global elites.
All right, welcome back. Steve, Kim, I'm not going to take you all the way back to Lane Kiffin to start. We're going to pick up where I left off. We'll get to Lane Kiffin before I let you go. Shedeur Sanders. And my contention that on the field, I felt like I saw a tiny bit of progress. Off the field, I don't think I saw any progress. And it's actually Shedeur's attitude and lack of leadership ability that is clearly the worst thing about him and clearly makes him toxic. And it makes me feel sorry for Kevin Stefanski. Your thoughts?
Well, that I agree with. Kevin Stefanski is, I don't want to say a victim here, but I do feel bad for the guy. This is a quarterback he does not see eye to eye with. He never wanted him, never vouched for him, and due to circumstances beyond his control is now stuck with them. And Shedeur is Shedeur, Jason. I think the reality is this. For his cult-like members who have a devotion to him that is second only to Jonestown, and they will drink that Kool-Aid over and over again, he can do no wrong. And on the flip side, Jason, guys like you, I don't think he'll ever do enough to curry favor with you. But I do agree with you in this sense. When you are the quarterback, you have to master the art of the cliche, as they said in Bull Durham. And sometimes that cliched quarterback answer is the right one. People don't like it. But if you keep it simple and you adhere to those old phrases, you're going to be okay. And Jason, that one clip that you made where he went back at that media member and said, I'm not playing this game. I think he learned that from his father, where he tries to disarm the media by saying, no. Let me be the good guy here and say all these great things that make it sound like I'm taking all the accountability, but none of it. Like I saw Coach Sanders this weekend say, I'm going to do everything in my power, if it's the last thing I do, to fix this. And I'm thinking, okay, so that means you're going to actually leave your house to recruit? I mean, what does that really mean at that point, right? So, yeah, Shedeur is Shedeur. He is who he is, and he is what he is.
Hopefully, you said something that I disagree with, but I want you to clarify it or defend it or double down. You said I'll never give Shedeur credit. I completely disagree.
No, I think you will give him credit. I don't think you'll ever completely be on board with him because he'll always do things to irritate you. See, I actually think Shedeur's been better than usual because the standards you set for somebody is what you really think of them. I actually think he's been okay with the media since getting the starting job. I don't think he's been perfect, but he doesn't have to be perfect on my behalf. But I believe that's just the way he expresses himself, the things that he says. And believe it or not, Jason, I'm actually on your side on this. I'm just saying there are certain things they'll be like, I wouldn't have phrased it that way. You know, that's all I'm saying is I'm not saying you're right or wrong. What I'm saying is
No, I didn't hear it as an attack, but I just completely disagree. If Shedeur Sanders would act like any other young quarterback leader, and I'll give you the prime example. The number one thing Shedeur Sanders should have done as soon as he was named starting quarterback. Hey, guys, I'm aware that people are saying that Kevin Stefanski hates me and is undermining me. I want you to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that is not true. This guy works with me every morning. We have a great working relationship, and I'm looking forward to being the starting quarterback and working with Kevin and growing our relationship even more. That's all you got to say.
Yeah, but Kevin, but Jason, what if they don't? What if they actually have tension, though? See, the reason why he can't say it is not because it's not true, because I'm with you about, again, and I'm Mr. Captain Cliche here for my quarterbacks. I think the problem is if he says that, the large bit of his cult, which has this persecution complex to begin with, they would accuse Shedeur of being off code. So then he has to actually buy into this mantra of him being a victim.
I get it. I don't think I'm asking that much. People do it on teams all the time. They swallow their pride and do what's in the best interest of the team. And when I'm going to give you a real life example. I can say all this because I know the behavior, because I used to exhibit the behavior. It undermined my college football career. I should have been a 4-year starter at Ball State. I should have been an all-conference type player at Ball State. My attitude was horrendous. And it was the first 2 years, I mean, I fought the coaches tooth and nail. I wasn't prepared. You know, I was a jerk. I mean, the stuff I did is mind-blowing. As a freshman, before our first scrimmage as a freshman, the offensive line coach, Dave Magazoo, who has now passed, I'm all fired up. I'm like, oh, we finally get into a scrimmage. Can't wait to show what I can do, you know, blah, blah. Offensive line coach walks up Dave Magazoo and says, pats me on the shoulder and says, hey, you're redshirting. You know, you're not going to get very many reps in this scrimmage. And I looked up at him and I said, hey, man, I'm going to be here 4 years and then I'm out. And so if y'all want to waste a year, that's on you. That's what I'm an 18-year-old, out of shape, hungover football player who thought I was doing Ball State a favor. I should be in the Big Ten. And so it took me to recover from that attitude. In my 3rd year, the head coach who couldn't stand me, he saw me after practice, me and the guy, Brian Outlaw, running extra wind sprints after practice. What? And the guy stood out there in disbelief and was like, Whitlock cares? Whitlock actually wants to play? And the next day, they gave me a chance in a scrimmage. I had to play against Troy Schultz, our best defensive lineman, or would have been him and Mose Carter. But anyway, and I played great, and the rest is his. But once I showed any change, Paul Shedeur, they jumped on board with me with gritted teeth because they were like, hey, when's this guy going to revert to factory settings? But I'm just telling you, Shedeur has that same opportunity, but he won't do it.
Well, let's go through his history. You've talked about this a lot. He's never been coached really by anyone but his father. And even in Colorado, Sean Lewis, who had a very good year at San Diego State, he was jettisoned before the end of the year, probably because, not because Shedeur didn't see eye to eye, he didn't see eye to eye with Shedeur, okay? So then you bring in Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur looks to me like his whole deal, part of his offense was cater this to Shedeur Sanders. So there is a possibility, okay, probably a large one, that Shedeur has never been coached hard or like any other player. And now for the first time in his life in Cleveland, when he's not even the backup, he was the backup to the backup to the backup. He was literally 4th string. He's never been coached like this. He probably does not know how to handle a lot of this.
My point exactly. And the other thing I felt, I'm telling you, I felt like he made progress. I liked him better, just the way he carried himself on the field, the whole 9, threw a couple of good balls. But the other thing I would say is, like, I think his lack of arm strength is starting to show up, that he doesn't have an elite arm. And after the game, they asked him about missing on the deep ball, and he gave some convoluted answer that basically was, hey, look, I just need more practice time. If they give me more practice time, it'll all get fixed. And he kept referring back to that. Probably 3 times in the press conference, he referred back to, I just need more practice time. Again, those aren't his exact words, but that was the inference. I haven't been given enough first-team reps, is basically, if you translated what he was saying, to throw that deep. And I'm like, you've never thrown in the wind before? You've been playing quarterback for 15 years? This is your first time throwing in the wind? Get out of here. Always an excuse, never any real accountability. And I think you're right. He's been mentored by Deion, who none of the rules ever applied to Deion. He ran a 4.140. And so it didn't matter. Deion's technique, whether Deion wanted to be coached, whether he wanted to be on time, none of it mattered, and that's how Shedeur carries himself.
I think there's 2 things at play. Look, Shedeur makes a valid point in my view. The practice time matters. He's going to get more and more reps. I hope he takes every single snap the rest of the way. It actually adds a little bit of drama and fun to this whole thing when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. We're going absolutely nowhere. The other thing is, though, and we know this, when there's more tape out on a player, defensive coordinators will start to take away whatever you do well, and they'll start to make you play left-handed. My view is, just from what I've seen, coordinators are going to really start to tighten up these throwing windows and make Shedeur throw downfield. I would go against press coverage, see if he can actually fit balls in there. And I still believe, and he only took 3 sacks, but every sack that I saw, Jason, he held the ball too long. And for all these fans that say he's not getting any protection, folks, you don't get 1 through 10 Mississippi at this level. You basically get about 2.5 seconds, and you have to make some sort of decisive read and decision at that point in time.
He can't process coverage or even questions asked in a post-game press conference. I'm just short bus, man, and I know, Deion wants me assassinated, and and I don't blame him because I'm going to sit here and tell the truth about what I see, and this is what coaches see and talk about. Like, he holds the ball too long because he can't process what he's seeing. He gets defensive in every question you ask him because he can't process what he was asked. Deion kept him in an athletic bubble, and Rich. What did you think of the Jerry Jeudy? What did you think of the Jerry Jeudy yelling at Shedeur?
In fairness to Shedeur, Jerry Jeudy's been a malcontent with a lot of people. So I look at it both ways. I know people have said, well, how come he didn't do that to the white quarterback? Yeah, but Jeudy's, he's one of those guys. He was highly touted out of Alabama, washed out in Denver, had a pretty decent year last year. But Jeudy is one of those guys. He does not have the license to act the way he does based on his production. Michael Irvin once said, given my status and the numbers that I put up, I could do that to everybody except 2 people, my franchise quarterback and my coach, Jimmy Johnson. That's it. Everyone else, I could just do whatever I wanted. Jerry's not at that stage. He really isn't. And I do wonder, though, there is a dynamic that I've seen on social media about how black employees hate working for black managers and supervisors. Do you think that's valid? Do you think that's right there borne out on a football sideline?
Yes. There's no question. I've experienced it myself. Again, if you go back to those Deadspin stories and the woman but it was factual, it was true. There's no question about it that, listen, any group of people that's in the constant habit of calling each other the N-word, that's not out of respect. That's out of disrespect. When you don't think much of yourself and you don't think much of people who share the same skin color as you, you just don't have respect for yourself or them. You think of them as the N-word. And so, yes, it's a true issue. But again, Shedeur is carrying himself like Tupac Shedeur. And he's not carrying himself like a franchise quarterback. And so he's wondering why he's not getting franchise, or anybody wondering why he's not getting franchise quarterback respect. It's because he wants to wear cornrows and gold chains and talk like he never graduated past 4th grade English. That's not going to command a lot of respect.
Jason, the next time you have Sean Big King on, ask him about what Keyshawn Johnson said about black quarterbacks. I don't know if he's gotten into that with you, but he's told some stories about how Keyshawn Johnson, I think, basically said, give me a white quarterback. Give me a white quarterback. It's an interesting story.
I'm going to tell you why he says that, and I will ask Sean about it. He says that because he's like, hey, the white guy is going to prepare. The black guy is, in general, is going, hey, man, I got these athletic gifts. The man is out to get me. This is all racism. There's too many of them with that mentality. And they have that mentality because a lot of black coaches give them that mentality. The victimhood mentality does not work in a leadership position. And so, not surprised. I want to move on before, the Black Panthers probably right now are upset with me. So let's see if I can calm them down by continuing to rip on Lane Kiffin, because I'm just the cult of Lane Kiffin is no different than the Shedeur cult. There's nothing they can't defend. I think Lane Kiffin is all wrong here. The way he exited Ole Miss is all wrong. And I'm talking about, he's got every right to leave, but to demand that you coach for another month and then start talking about gutting your coaching staff and taking players with you, this is a bad exit for Lane Kiffin.
So what I'm gathering from this past weekend with the coverage and who was saying what and defending him, the C in CAA stands for cult. And Jason, now it's coming out on Twitter, and I hope this is not true, that the dog that was like the family pet, we were all told, of the Kiffin family, Juice, very funny Twitter account, may not actually be his dog. That may have been like something they propped up. My world is shattered. What, can we believe in anything anymore? My God. So Juice Kiffin was not actually the family pet? But Jason, look, adult decisions, even ones that benefit you, come at a cost. There are people, thousands of people that are not in coaching that take a promotion or a better job, but they have to come out and tell their family, hey guys, we're going to be living a lot better. We're going to get a bigger house with a swimming pool. And Jimmy, you get the Nintendo now. Honey, you get 5 more dresses. I'm going to drive a nicer car. However, we're moving 3,000 miles away. That's life. And we have to do it by this time. That's life. I get it. There are no guardrails. The system is broken. The clock is broken. But this is where coaching in the fraternity is very, very hypocritical. They are not asking the same type of disciplined behavior and to move on that they have of players when it comes to themselves. And that's a shame.
Yeah, I get why people like Lane Kiffin. He's got a sense of humor. He's got a big personality. He's actually, he's someone you'd want to hang out with. I get it. And many people in the media have a direct line of communication to him and talk with him. He follows people on Twitter and all that. He's played the game marvelously, but wrong is wrong. And you can like and respect Lane Kiffin and still be critical of this exit without blaming the system, because the system is bogus and corrupt, but I don't see any of these people really trying to fix the system.
Jason, I want to say one thing. There used to be a time when having access meant power. I think now shunning the access and saying what you want, maybe that's the ultimate power, because you're not beholden to anybody. Seriously, I think access actually restricts you now. Yeah, you might be able to break a story, you might glad hand, you might go to the same parties, a guy might give you a scoop. But in terms of being honest with your own personal thoughts and opinions and serving the readers or your viewers, being that guy that never wants to be called, hey buddy, how you doing? And just be like, yeah, what do you want? That might be the ultimate power, but that takes a lot of discipline. The other thing about Lane is fun, even as a villain. I give him credit. I've actually come around on Lane in a lot of ways. He's grown as a coach, done a great job at Ole Miss. He has a team that's going to make a pretty good run in the playoffs. I'm not sure how that offensive staff does without him, or that offense, right? But I thought it was telling. Most of that staff is remaining in Oxford. I think that says a lot. And Peter Golding now, it has a task ahead of him, but he doesn't have to rebuild much of that. The other thing is, Jason, I don't know what you're seeing on Twitter, but these Lanestein files that are now coming out with the screenshots and provocative text messages and DMs, interesting stuff about his personal life.
Whoa.
Wow.
You can't drop that little nugget without. You got to give me some more details. I'm just hearing this. And what's happening?
The Lanestein files about his personal dealings with co-eds and rumors and screenshots of, hey, how you doing? And it's like a co-ed. You're like, huh? Bear Bryant would never do that. And I'll tell you that. It's all over Twitter. I'll send you stuff. I can't believe you have not seen it, Jason. Really?
No, I have not. When did it start coming out?
As soon as they took the LSU
Last
job.
night?
I mean, Ole Miss fans had this in their draft
week?
folder the whole time, just waiting for this because they knew it was coming. There are theories as to why certain players did not play, namely a running back, Ulysses Bentley. Jason, when we're done here, I'm going to send you a lot of stuff that you're going to find very interesting. The Lanestein files.
Well, what? Ulysses, there's a running back that didn't play that you seem to be indicating there was a conflict over a woman.
Yeah, that seems to be the rumor.
Lane's.
I'm not going to say much. I'm going to let you read those tweets, and you can make your own determination as to why Ulysses Bentley was parked in the garage the whole year.
Ulysses Bentley, and by the, is that
Jason,
a black guy? You got to give. I got name his
well, he's a
parents
running
after,
back
or
in
name
the
his kid after
SEC.
Ulysses
What do you
S. Grant.
think?
All right, go ahead.
Jason, he's a running back in the SEC.
I know, but
what do you think? Yes,
Ulysses is an interesting name.
Jason, well, maybe their parents were Civil War buffs or something. But look, there's a particular.
I guess at least they didn't name him Jefferson Davis. I guess. Or,
Jefferson Davis. Yeah. So there's a particular Twitter account that I'm going to send you to.
General for the South.
Yeah, Ulysses Grant.
Robert E. Lee. They didn't name him Robert E. Lee, but go ahead.
Yeah, Robert E. Lee. So there's a particular Twitter account that I'm going to turn you on to, and you're going to be scrolling through this guy, and then the guys that he responds to, the guys that link him. It's this whole labyrinth. Very interesting, the Lanestein files. Very interesting.
Steve, I got to say this. I'm sitting here looking at two college-age guys that work with me, Peyton and Luke, and for them not to have told me any of this, you're going to get these guys fired. Why am I getting this kind of good gossip from you instead of these young guys that live in these streets like this? This is amazing
Jason,
stuff. Go ahead. Yeah.
Do you not follow me on Twitter? I've been retweeting this thing for the last 12 hours. My God.
I do follow you on Twitter. You tweet so much.
I do.
That,
I do.
You know, it's hard.
I do. I do.
It's hard to keep up.
Yeah, but Jason, with me, it's quality and quantity. I give you both, man. I'm like Walmart. I'm like Costco. Wow. I give you a lot of good stuff at one time.
I'm going to have to streamline my Twitter feed then because I follow about 900 people. Maybe I need to get that down to about 400.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I'd make the cut, though. I'd make the cut.
Yeah, I know. You got to get, but who can get through all that value? Steve, I'm going to let you go. We're late today. We're all in but we're going to be here in studio all week. So we'll be back on schedule tomorrow. Thank you guys for joining us today. Sorry we were a tiny bit late. Hope you enjoyed the show. You're not going to get this kind of information takes anyplace else. That's it. That's all for us. We'll see you tomorrow.